David McMillan also was talking about the Europa Conference, which is what the Irish teams are playing in this year. Shamrock Rovers go into the third round qualifier of this tournament, having lost their Champions League qualifying game. He was saying that he feels a little bit hard done by that. They've even brought in an extra round to qualify for the Champions League this year. He said that it feels each year there's more and more for the top teams and less for the smaller teams. He said that there's positive and negatives. There's a higher chance of qualifying for this conference into the group stages, but there is less opportunity to play against the bigger sides. And I guess this is the argument for this tournament, is that, it gives teams like Dundalk, Bohemians, Shamrock Rovers from smaller leagues across Europe a chance to play at a European level, but they don't get the games again against Arsenal like Dundalk did last year, against AC Milan like Shamrock Rovers did last year, and against Juventus against Shamrock Rovers a couple of years ago. These massive games, you don't get them if you're not playing in the competition that those teams are playing in. So, Richie, what are your thoughts on this? Is it better to be in this against teams that you're playing against at your level, you can get to the competition, or do you want the glitz and glamour of potentially getting the Champions League once every 4 years?
Well, I think Dave probably has a point in that we're getting the worst of both worlds, and that we're not getting we are getting matches against other teams, but you're not getting anywhere close to glamour sides. And I don't think, like, we can compare and contrast going back through the years. I don't think the teams that Irish sides are playing in this year's qualifiers for the Conference League are wildly different from what they would have been playing in the Europa League. So everybody of a similar stature is kind of bumped down a peg on the ladder, and you're still swimming in amongst the same fishes, playing the same kind of teams. And nobody's really benefiting from it, aside from like prize money stuff, like Bows or whatever get through to the third qualifying round, and Dundalk do it as well. Like, it's 350 and 150 each, so it's like, well, 500,000 both going into their bank accounts. Yeah, that's all good, but they're still like as far away from a group stage as they would have been in the Europa League, playing against the same kind of competition when they would have had the opportunity to earn more money. I just don't see what the benefit is. And again, much like what Dave is saying, I don't see why there wasn't a middle ground. I don't like why was there the jump from, and I'm sure coefficients, and they get to frame everything with coefficients, but coefficients are the reason. Obviously, the Shamrock Rovers are in the Champions League and then bumped down into the Conference League. Why isn't, say, the second place team in the league getting a Europa League qualifier spot, and then the third place and the FAI Cup winners getting the conference spots, and then the champions obviously getting the Champions League and then bumped downwards? It seems to be an effort to keep people they would rather not be in the group stages, like Dundalks, like your Dudlonges, like your Ludogorets, or whomever it may be. Keep them at an arm's length, have them their own little game to play with, let them sit at the kiddie table if you're at a wedding or you're at a family function, and they stick amongst themselves. We don't want them near us. And that seems to be the exercise, because look at the third round qualifiers that Bows and Dundalk get if they get through. Like, it's against PAOK, who are a fairly decent Greek side, as you mentioned, have their own vociferous support, and probably would have been a side that you'd feature in the third qualifying round of the Europa League or the Champions League had they won their league. Similarly, Vitesse Arnhem would be a pretty strong opposition in Europa League football, and that's what Dundalk will have to go up against: a really strong, organised, top flight, consistently top flight Dutch outfit. We're not benefiting from this Conference League, and it's not just Irish teams. Let's be honest; it's pretty much across Europe of teams of a similar level. It's just a matter of opening up a new TV contract for UEFA and getting more money for them. For the teams involved in it, not so much.
Yeah, there's 184 teams in the Conference League altogether. 184. That's an insane amount of teams to try navigate your way to a 32 team group stage, and then through the competition. So eventually it will be whittled down, and you will get the bigger sides that are currently in the Conference League. You're looking at the Scottish sides: Aberdeen and Hibs, Copenhagen, Feyenoord, Austria Vienna. Like, these are teams that were not so long ago stalwart of at least the Europa League, if not being in the Champions League every now and then.
Austria Vienna are European finalists within my lifetime. I was 13 when they were in a Cup Winners' Cup final against Paris Saint-Germain. Like, it's not beyond the realms of possibility. Like, Feyenoord 21 years ago against Dortmund were in a European final as well. Like, these teams, like, they don't have a God-given right. But again, like, there should be just two competitions at this stage. The ditching of the Cup Winners' Cup back in the day seems like a short-sighted experiment, and it's something that they should have kept, because it was different, and it did offer it, like, because you could have in other countries, yes, the big teams dominate in England, the FA Cup, and to a degree they do here. You just have to look at the list of cup finals over the last half a decade to prove that. But otherwise, like the cup in certain countries is a crapshoot, and you can end up with some randomer in there, and they would have the benefit of European competition, and that'd be something for them to look forward to and make your own cup competition worth a little bit more. But just throwing everybody into the same boat in the Conference League and asking them to go on, fend for yourselves, it just, I don't know, it just seems pointless.
It's just a bit of a catch-all, isn't it? It's a safety net, essentially, so it is. And as you say, you do get some very good sides in it, but just the pure numbers you've tried, I didn't realise there was that many in it. And I think if you win this year's Leinster Senior League, you qualify for the Europa League as well, or the Europa Conference as well. Yeah.
Come on,
yeah, look, at the end of the day, it's money makes the world go round, as they say. And like, if the clubs are coming away with, are happy with the money that they're coming away on the back of it with, which is, I think they still probably will be. That's going to be the main reasoning behind it.
Yeah, well, it's 3 million if you get into the Europa Conference group stages, 3.68 million if you get into the Europa League group stages. So the disparity, that's what UEFA will hold up as. We're giving the lesser teams the chance to make as much money, but I mean,
they're not.
It's more difficult to get to this.
They're giving lesser teams more of a chance to make less money because 186 teams aren't qualifying for the group stage. The majority of them are heading out the first qualifying round, second qualifying round, third qualifying round, and they're making, tops for most of them $500,000. So, like, it's not money that you'd sneeze at in this country in particular, but for others, they probably scratch their heads and just go wonder what the effort is for. Like, Spurs are going into this later on in the year, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like,
I think so,
they'll be looking at this, like, with all due respect, like, they'll be looking at this as an absolute pain in their arse. Like,
you see, that's the thing. These bigger sides will not want to be in this. They look at this with absolute disdain. So why are they in it?
Yeah,
that's the question. Why are they giving spots to the big six leagues?
Because their league spot determined that they would get into it. But there's no point in. That's the thing that I presume that the Conference League would be, is that the top tier of sides. So you wouldn't have someone like, it would be a big European competition, but you wouldn't have, say, Premier League, Serie A, Bundesliga, La Liga, even Portugal maybe. You wouldn't necessarily have that strata of league finishes coming down into that competition, because then you're making it more difficult for the sides that you're actually trying to benefit. Whereas if they just had without wanting to have the Champions League be a Super League in all but name, but that's what they're trying to do. That's what they're trying to do with appeasing these 12 teams that try to break away, is let them have just the top two competitions and let the others involve themselves in the Conference League. But no, everybody still have to dip their toes in it.
Shane, from a coaching perspective, if you were managing a League of Ireland side going into this Conference League, would you not be happy to be in the Conference League as opposed to the Champions League, because you have more chance of, you're playing against teams of similar standard, but I guess you're not coming up against those glamour ties? Like, I know playing against Arsenal was such a big thing for yourself, and you've spoken about that, but would you prefer playing against Arsenal once every 5 years because that's how often these ties come around, or would you prefer continually playing, against good level opposition that you can actually beat?
You see, the answer to that question probably we depends on where we're at in 4 or 5 years' time. So in 4 or 5 years' time, have 2 to 3 League of Ireland sides consistently qualified for the group stages of the Conference League. If they have, then yeah, you probably would take that. You would take that over one club qualifying for the Europa League group stages once, as you say, once every 5 years. The problem is, are we comparing qualifying for the Europa League group stages once every 5 years to qualifying for the Conference League group stages once every 3 years? Like, that's not really progression, so it's not. If League of Ireland sides, 2 to 3 League of Ireland sides could make the group stages, every year or even every second year and really get kind of consistent exposure to European football, then yeah, I do think that would be a good thing. It's just, you look at the quality of sides that teams are going to have to beat to get into it. Like, as I say, you suppose taking on Vitesse, that's a seriously tough one. Now, Rovers have certainly got to look at a draw, right, with their one, which we saw last year, obviously drawing them ourselves. But yeah, look, if it meant playing in group stages on a regular basis, then I think Irish football coaches and Irish football would love that. I just have my doubts as to whether we are going to see it on a regular basis.
Before we finish up with this discussion, Richie, from a fan's perspective, because I just did a poll on Twitter earlier on to get a grasp of where fans would lie on this topic. A lot of the fun with playing in Europe is going to games in places that you might not usually go. You know, it's going over to a random spot in Bosnia or Croatia or somewhere in Belgium. From a fan's perspective, could this be good? Because, you know, you're going over to these far-stretched places for a bit of crack, and you might actually win the game. And you're going to these old-school grounds. There's more of a, there's more of a League of Ireland feel about it, you know?
So it's something for the romantics. Yeah, but like any away trip is going to bring that. A team supporters, if they have been lucky enough to go away from home, it's because their team has done really well, and that's been the rewards in one part. And so you're getting the reward to the reward in being able to follow your team, whether it's to Arsenal, even if they get beaten, whether it's to, Austria Vienna, even if you get beaten. It's to go over to a place and follow your team and fly the flag for your particular club somewhere abroad. I think the winning and losing, almost when you're on away trips, is I'm not going to say immaterial, but it's not the thing. You go for the experience. You go to see your team in Europe. You go for the stories that come out of it. I mean, if people are curious as to where Hold Me Now and Johnny Logan came to be, synonymous with Bose, it came from a trip to Trondheim. I think nearly 20 years ago now at this stage, and a friend of mine, Stephen Doran, was at it, and he said that they were sitting around a bar, I think, and some local Norwegians came up to them and was like, "Where are you from?" And like, "Ireland." And somebody went, "Oh, Johnny Logan," and someone started singing "Hold Me Now," and lo and behold, Johnny Logan is suddenly a Bose icon. So it's those little wonderful bits of happenstance that come from away trips, and I'm sure people from Cork and Dundalk and Rovers and Limerick even, and God knows who else probably have their own stories as well. But I don't know, just getting to go anywhere. Like, the travel thing is one thing. We're obviously kind of hamstrung on what we can do at the moment, but getting to go anywhere and support your club away from home is a pretty special experience.